authors. I'm Joanne Morrell, children's and young adult fiction writer and author of short non-fiction for authors. Thanks for joining me for the Hybrid Author podcast, sharing interviews from industry professionals to help you forge a career as a hybrid author, both independently and traditionally publishing your books. You can get the show notes for each episode and sign up for your free author pass over at the Hybrid Author website to discover your writing process, get tips on how to publish productively, and get comfortable promoting your books at www.hybridauthor.com.au. Let's crack on with the episode. Hello, authors! I hope you're all keeping well in whatever part of the world you reside and listen to the podcast in. Today's interview is with Natalie Normann, romance writer of 60 plus books, and she's going to be chatting to us about her writing, publishing, and rapid releasing process for Norwegian romance and contemporary English books, as well as sharing her tips for authors looking to write romance. So on my author adventure this week, there's not much to share. I'm awaiting a shipment of bulk books for freelance writing, quick tips for fast success, and the first ever print copy of I've ordered for myself, so that'll be exciting to hold in my hands and see it. Author fears and how to overcome them. I've started setting up the online shop, connected my PayPal, and I'm working with my web designer, the lovely Kirsty from Thorn Creative, to get it up and running. There's still no word from traditional publishers regarding my children's fiction, but the deadlines for that are due in the next week or two, a couple of weeks I think. And I've been busy with my top secret project for 2023, which I'm only sharing progress report via my newsletter. So if you're keen to keep up to date with that, you can do so by heading over to hybridauthor.com.au to sign up for your free author pass, and you'll start receiving fortnightly Hybrid Author news from there, as well as the updates on how I'm going with this project. So if you love the podcast or any of the episodes has helped you further in your author career, you can now pay it forward by buying me a coffee over at buymeacoffee.com/thehybridauthor. Or you can leave me a review on whatever platform you listen to the podcast on to help other writers like you discover the podcast. Let's all support each other. Natalie Normann started her career writing short stories and then just kept going. So far, she has published 69 novels in different genres, but always with romance. In 2021, her first book in English was published, and she's still in shock. Welcome to the Hybrid Author podcast, Natalie.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, we're absolutely thrilled for you to join us today. And obviously, you know, from your bio, you started out with short stories and then went into novels. But prior to that, can you maybe take us back to when you decided or knew you wanted to become a writer?
I wrote my first novel when I was 14. And of course, it was terrible, because they always are. And I wrote stories, and it was just, copying the writers I loved. It sort of grew on me. Suddenly I could come up with my own stories. I started sending them around to women's magazines. And then in 94, I sold my first one. Big moment.
Yeah, congratulations. Well, that's amazing. And obviously, it's such a young age to be starting to write and then putting stuff out as well, 14.
Yeah, well, I like words and I like history and I like stories, and I would read everywhere. I tried to read in the shower. It didn't work. I would read everywhere. So writing was sort of a natural progression.
Yeah, it's I think at that age as well, it's good self-expression for, getting out that.
Yeah.
Feelings.
Yeah, and then we lived in Spain for 3 years. I couldn't speak the language. There were no libraries I could use, and I couldn't read English yet. And so I started writing my own story more to entertain myself.
Yeah.
And so that was the first thing, actually.
That's incredible. So did you grow up in Norway?
Yeah.
Right. So
you spent 3 years in Spain.
Yeah. Wow. So you moved around a bit. That's incredible. So as we heard from your bio, 69 novels, that just absolutely blows my mind, which is crazy. And I believe majority of these are historical Norwegian romance, and you've written it in the native tongue. Can I just ask why this genre that you've gone into, and why written this way?
Well, it was the only ones they would publish.
Oh,
Commercial literature wasn't at least huge in Norway. And in the 80s, there was a publisher who was now my publisher who sort of invented a new genre for romance, historical romance series, where you follow one person through a whole series of books. So I have one series on 11 books about a young girl, and then I have one for, I think, 14 books.
Wow.
And the last one, I was so fed up with writing about 16-year-olds. So I wrote about a female doctor in 1919, and that went to 35 books.
Wow.
And then I had to stop because I was exhausted.
I bet.
You have to write 6 books a year, So,
wow. Yeah, that's crazy.
There was no time for anything else. And then I tried to write the English books on the side, and well, it didn't.
It's too much.
I love the English books, so I want to write more of that.
So these Norwegian books, did you start off reading them and then you were like, hey, I've got ideas here, I can write this, or are you more just seeing publishing opportunities in that market and kind of gave it a go?
No, I read one huge series, which is she was a wonderful writer, totally fantasy, but she was a brilliant storyteller. So I read her series and I read a few of the others. And then I had an idea for where I could use my hometown, which is it's a fishing town. It was used to call the most isolated town in Norway because you couldn't drive there, you had to come by boat.
That's amazing. I love that.
Yeah, because there were mountains and fjords everywhere, so it's almost impossible. And I had an idea that I should write about there's a local story about a prostitute. And I wanted to write a series about her, and the publisher said, maybe not a prostitute, maybe something else, And then I started writing about a little inn that was right where you probably don't know where this is, but it's the biggest Viking area in town in Norway.
Right.
That's where the name come from. And I remember my mother told me that we had this pub or an inn, and I started doing research, and so a story grew from that. And that was the first one, so I didn't know what I was doing. Then they gave me the contract and they said, "Oh, you can just start." And I thought, how am I going to write an unknown number of books about this person? But it was a great learning experience.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Because you really learned how to write a story, and you have to have the one person through all the books. So it was challenging, but it was fun. And then I wrote another one, and then the third one.
Yeah. So would you effectively say did you sit down to plot out the books? Like, obviously you've got one person, you've got all these books. Did you have to have an idea of what this person was going to do throughout the series initially, or you just write as you go? Yeah.
You have an art. I had an art. I knew where I was going, and sort of. And then for every book, because have 6-7 weeks to write it, you build on the book before, and then see where it takes you. So it's a part planning, part crazy, part, oh my God, the deadline is coming.
Do you think that works in your favor? Like, knowing that, I think it would with myself, knowing that you've got this date, you'd be like stressed out like a maniac, but it would force you to sit and go raw, do you think, or burn out?
It falls into place. It's the weirdest thing. So my latest editor, she gave me a t-shirt that it says, "There will always be another book." The book falls together in a way in the last minute.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
Of course, it's probably riddled with plot holes and God knows what.
Oh, I'm sure not. So yeah, with traditional publishing, I haven't really heard of them rapid releasing that way before. So with the 6 to 7 week time frame, is that the editorial process as well, or that's your writing time? Oh, it's every time.
It's first draft to the editor, getting it back, editing, second round, and then it goes back. You don't have time for anything else.
Oh my goodness.
And they are mostly sold through subscriptions. People sign up for the first book and then they take them on. And it's also sold in like kiosks and supermarkets and things. Rarely in bookstores.
Yeah, okay.
In my local bookstore back home, they sell them. Otherwise, it's mostly subscriptions and things.
Yeah.
And people read, and people are reading like 19 series at the same time, because I'm not the only writer, And oh my God. So I think it's because Norway is so long and there are no big towns anywhere. So a lot of people live in the countryside or by the coast, and they get these books in the post.
I think that's amazing. I love it. I absolutely love it. And in a way, that was before, I don't know if it wasn't before the internet, but before all these streaming services. I mean, and even with movies, I used to get CDs delivered to my door to watch movies and send them back. You know, it's just a different way to get books into readers' hands, and I absolutely love that. And there's probably quite a big market for it, that people want to read about where they're from and in a setting. And Norwegian stuff is especially with all these big Viking movies that are coming out, it's kind of been a trend these last couple of years, isn't it?
It is. It's Viking series in the kind of books I write. I remember when the most popular series are set in farms. So you have some poor farm girl who gets into, it's like a soap opera in a way. And that's fine. It's fun to write. But I said to my editor, I don't want to write about farms. I don't know anything about cows. So, can I do something else? And so I said, yes, you can do. And then I wrote about the doctor, which was great fun. So in 35 years, I managed to only have 1 year. I don't know how, but that's how it worked out.
Wow. I just
But it was really fun.
Yeah, I bet. I think it's incredible. And it sounds like these types of books, their escapism, it's just people wanting to fall into another world. And who doesn't I love my drama and
Exactly. So, and gives people a sense of history. Because like I do and my colleagues do, we read local history, we do a lot of research. So it's a lot about women's lives, how they lived in the 1800s, 1700s, whatever. And I think people connect to that.
Yeah.
It seems like it. We don't have any nobility or royalty to write about. So it has to be about the normal people, the little people. So
yeah.
I think it's good.
They're connecting with it. So no, that's incredible. So you have the 6 to 7 weeks, and then you're saying you obviously do research and stuff like that. How do you have a schedule, or you just it's in your mind now what you do sort of for researching, for writing, for the editorial process, and then it's out the door?
And then hopefully don't come back like that. I have to do the proofreading then.
Right.
No, it's before they start publishing, we have at least a year while planning and working and doing researching, and it's a very tight, working very close with an editor, and our editors are super good. They have been doing this for 20 years, most of them, and it's a very different way of working because you work really close with people. They know everything, so they can say, okay, that character he had a different name actually in 2 books ago. So maybe you should change that.
Yeah.
And so they're really good, but it's tiresome.
It sounds it's like rapid release almost. That people talk about. That sounds it's actually something I'm trying to embark on this year, but haven't yet. And I'm already sort of getting myself tied up in knots, and I haven't even started. Oh no. So these works, like you said, one character, 35, did you say 35 books for one character? Is that just you keep going because you have ideas for that person until you run out, or?
Yeah, I have to do continually research, and the research is great because you get a lot of ideas for things. When I was starting up, I read that there were British warships. This was set in 1919, so just after, I think she arrives in January 1919, and there were still mines, like floating bombs in the ocean. So they had torpedo ships coming, and they blew up once in a while. So that was the first book in a way, and the doctor has to come. And then I thought, well, she has to be experienced, so she was at the front. On the British side, had to be at the British side, of course, the good guys, and learned her how to be a doctor. So, and then I had to do a lot of research for that. And then I like the research. I like writing history.
So they're action-packed as well as romance.
Yes. The romance was very slow. You have to bring in other characters, hoping they are interesting, and then sub-stories, things like that. So.
And do you have characters that come into one set of series, and then that's the main character going in your next set or anything like that? Have you done that?
No, I have the same main character all the time, and then it's how she relates to people. And I write from other characters' point of view, so it's not 35 books of one person acting all the time. It's not like that. That would be really, really hard. I just a new character. And
no, but from that, so obviously you write points of view from one series, but there's one main character. But from say, could you take a character from that series and then use that character as the main character going forward? But you haven't yet. Yeah. Oh, amazing.
They want me to, and of course I have a really good idea, but I'm not ready to write 6 books a year yet.
Yeah.
Maybe if they tell me you can write 1 book a year, then I'll be fine.
So 6 to 7. So how many do you write a year then, if it's 6 to 7 weeks?
I write 6 books.
6 books a year.
6
Wow.
books a year.
And how long are they in length and stuff?
Well, 50,000 words, give or
Wow.
take a few.
Yeah, that's insane.
So that's a lot of words.
It is a lot of words. My gosh, I think you'd be blown away if you counted it up. So do you write your 50,000 words? How many drafts do you go for? Do you have a first draft, then it goes on to the editorial people, then you work from that, or do you draft and draft and draft?
No, I don't have time to
Draft.
So I write first draft very quickly, hope it sticks together, sort of, and then send it to the editor, and she goes through it and says, okay, this makes no sense. Can you do this in another book? Who is he? And then I have to, so that's the second round, and then it normally never comes back for a third one.
Okay.
We together we manage to smooth out everything, and then it comes back as proofreading.
Yep.
And I like to do that because I like to have a last look at things. If there is something that's really wrong, I can catch it.
So you've gone for your process, and then it's with the publisher. How long for that book then to make its way out into the world, like actually as a product?
It can take anything from 2 months. What happens is that on the first 3 books you have plenty of time. And then they say, okay, we're going to publish the 6 first books with a smaller space just to get people interested. And so we will want 6 books ready before we start publishing. And it's eaten up really quickly. So by the end, I was sort of writing while it was getting off to the editor. Too much.
I love it. I love to hear rapid release in traditional publishing. I just absolutely love it. Yeah, it sounds like your publisher's got their shit together.
Oh yeah, they're really professional, really good.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. So you're with the traditional publishing house, and you just write the books and put them out. And they're a subscription sort of model rather than in the bookstores. Mm-hmm. Do they market them in any terms? Do you market the books, or they market the books, or because there's so many, they've got a following, they don't need to?
The marketing is focused on the 2-3 first books, and then they have a massive mailing list, because they have usually like 20-25 series going on at the same time. So they would slap the picture of my first book in some of the other series to get them interested. We used to have that they could have an extract in the women's magazines, but they have been downsized so much. So because people don't read them anymore, basically. Magazine stands, who buys that anymore? Everything is done online. So I do signings. All that is in the beginning. And then after that, you sort of get a level for subscriptions, and then you just keep going.
Yeah.
You don't have to advertise more.
Yeah, that's amazing. And probably like what a model to have, especially with the pandemic and things, they'd still got a list, they can still reach people. It didn't affect them probably.
No, very little.
Wow.
And also me, I was used to sit at home. So
you're like,
not a problem.
Nothing's changed. Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. So if there is anyone out there listening, obviously you have romance English books and you have these romance Norwegian books. Is there specific traits in the Norwegian romance books that you don't have in your English ones? I guess just setting.
I think so, yeah, because the romance is pretty much the same, but the setting is different. Yeah. And when I got a chance to write the English one, they asked, can I write contemporary novels? And I thought, oh, that's great. I haven't written a contemporary novel since the 90s. Mm-hmm. This is great. No research. So of course there was a little bit of research, but so I made up an island and I set my characters there, and that was really fun. I was sitting in London during the heat wave in 2020, I think, writing like mad because my Norwegian publisher had made a mistake and given me 11 weeks instead of the normal 8. So I thought, yes, and I was writing like crazy. But it worked.
You never called them on that and said, oh, hang on.
No.
There's a bit of an error here.
No, I didn't.
Oh, that's amazing. So in between obviously writing your Norwegian stuff, were you approached by HarperCollins, or did you get in touch with them?
This is the thing that never happens, but it did. Well, I was in a seminar about writing. I can't remember his name, Robert something, very famous, very known. And there were a lot of people there, was Scandinavians. There were HarperCollins had 2 editors there, Harlequin, and I had my sister with me, and she's a journalist and she likes to talk to people and I don't. So she was, talking to everyone during a break, and then she comes to me and she said, come on, you have to meet these 2 editors. I told them you write 6 books a year, and they loved it. I said, I don't want to talk, but you go and talk to them. They're in the coffee line. She actually pushed me in the back. So I did. And I talked to them, and they were, of course, absolutely lovely. And she gave me her mail address and I gave her mine. And then she told me later, she said that, one of our editors has just been to Norway and I told her about you and she would love to meet you. And I
Wow.
said, okay. And I thought, okay, this is cool. I can see the HarperCollins big name. I've never seen anything like that. So I came 40 minutes late because I was coming from the other side of London and I had no idea how to get there.
Oh no.
I didn't have her phone number. She was so nice. She was so nice.
Oh.
So she gave me a cup of coffee and we talked and she explained digital publishing first. I thought, oh, really nice. I had no idea why she wanted me there, but it was fun talking to a British, editor. And then she said, okay, send me what you have. Do you have anything in English? Yes, I said, I have plenty in English. So I sent her. And then she said, I don't like any of that. Can you write a contemporary romance instead? And I said, sure, why not? I didn't know what it was going to be about. I have nothing, but it somehow it works. It comes together.
Yeah. I'd say after writing so much and so many, there is, whether you're aware of it or not, there's probably a formula to how you write, and you're in a flow now. You're in a space, so that's amazing. And so your HarperCollins books are Summer Island, Christmas Island, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They call them a very hygge holiday.
Yeah.
Because of the hygge thing,
Yeah. I think that's awesome. And so how has it been publishing with them compared to your Norwegian one? Is it less of a deadline and more of a slower pace?
Yeah. Very, very, because she said just finish it and then come back to me. So I finished took a few months. I finished the first book and then sent it, and then they gave me a contract for 2 books. And the first book I had a good story for, so I was confident that would work. And she said, okay, we can have a Christmas book. But I turned it around. It worked. I tried to bring everything I love about Norway into the books, and at the same time there had to be a British main character. So it's a man in the first one and his sister in the second one.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
I had so much fun.
Yeah, I love books that interconnect in worlds that all, it's really awesome. I run a book club up my end, and we had a book by Tess Woods, which is a local Perth romance writer in Australia, and we've read 2 of her books now. We absolutely loved, but the penny sort of dropped halfway through the second one for me, that the characters in the second one we'd read were actually the kids grown up from the first, and I was like, really? Oh my gosh, and when you actually get that realization, we were all like, oh wow, it was really cool. You feel like you're in on something, or them really well, the characters. So
that's perfect.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. So you're still doing both? You're still doing the English, you're still going to continue doing the English books and the Norwegian stuff? Are you going to start pulling back? Are you allowed to say?
Yeah, sure. It's not a problem. I stopped the series when we came to book 35. That was last year.
Yeah.
Because I was too tired and I had to have a hip replacement and I was in pain because I had to wait because of the pandemic. So I just said, I can't do this. I'm going to go bonkers. And so they said, okay, fine. Finish 2 books and then all right. So now I'm writing a Christmas book, a historical Christmas book, which is fun. But I also had to give that up the last year because I was too tired. Yeah. But I had my operation in November and I'm getting better every day. So
oh, fantastic.
I'm happy again now. Yeah.
I was just going to ask, how is I'm actually having getting some tingling in my hands, and I have not written probably near as much as what you do. And I've got to wear these stints to sleep in now. How is your RSI?
When you get a new hip, you have a few weeks with a lot of pain. And then when that goes, I could start writing again. When I could start sitting again, then I could start writing again. So I've been reading and sleeping a lot, but I'm back now since after Christmas. I've been writing again and very happy about that.
What about dictating? Would you take that up?
I can't do that. It's so weird.
Yeah, talking.
I write through my fingers, so it's no, I have to.
I think it's a skill that you got to learn as well. I've kind of tried, but it's more for me. It comes out brainstorming. At this point, I'm not writing sentences or anything like that. It's more like a backstory that comes out, and then I can kind of write from there. But oh gosh, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's like notes. Well, that's fine.
Yeah. With the romance writing, Anyone who is interested in venturing out into romance, do you have any tips for when it comes to writing romance? Like, when you write your own, do you have any go-to, looks that people give, or feelings, or things that you like? I guess if someone picks up, say, one of your Norwegian books and almost one of your English books, what can they expect in terms of romance?
Well, I write more of a closed door romances. I do. In those 35 books, I think somebody had sex twice or something.
Yeah.
And one of them was a disaster, and the other one was very romantic. So I thought, okay, that's fine. I can do that. And the English books are more of the same. It's a closed door romance. I like that. I like the build up. But I learned to write by doing. When I started, when I was a kid, this was way before internet or anything like that. I didn't even know there was writing technique. And the Norwegian books that existed was about grammar and things, were nothing about how to build a story. So what I actually did back then was I would watch a movie that I loved, and I would start to write the whole movie myself.
Cool. Yeah,
because I loved it. And that back then you couldn't tape it. We had one TV channel, so I would write the whole movie to myself with dialogue and everything. And I think that's I learned the technique for that, how to write. And then later I would read everything. I'm like a crazy woman. Girl, and I found what I loved to read was very often the kind of books I wanted to write. So I started by that, and then just practice. It's a craft, It's not something you can just sit down and. Some people can, of course, sit down, write a book, and that's it.
Yeah.
I have to work for it, so I do, and I enjoy the process. So. Yeah.
That's the main thing, that you enjoy it. I think there's easier things to do if you don't enjoy it. So it sounds like with the romance, you probably show a lot and then build on that, and then it's more implied than sort of cast or showcased or anything like that. Yeah. So do you have any overall tips for writers who want to write in that genre at all? Anything you wish you could have told yourself getting in? And don't say don't.
Don't worry too much. I think just go for it, because when you write, and the more you write, the more you will find your own voice. You will find out what works for you. Every writer has their way of doing things. You can study other writers and you say, okay, I have to do like that. That's so much easier. And it doesn't always work. I have a colleague who she writes synopsises for 30 pages, and then she writes the book. And I tried that once. I tried, okay, am I going to write detailed synopsis? And I did. I spent a lot of time on it. And when I started writing, it was useless. I just had to throw the whole thing out. So everyone has their own techniques. But I think the most important is to write what you love, and don't try to, if this book sells now, it might not sell when your book is finished, So it takes time to write.
I do love that you say write for yourself as well, because there's always lots of different conflicting information out there. But in my experience, I've had critiques done with publishers, and I've almost changed my work to suit one publisher through critiques, and then had it critiqued by another, and they had something different to say, and then the penny dropped, and I thought, oh, hang on, I'm just gonna keep changing this to whoever. I need to be true to myself, and then write it, and then find that person that likes it as is, or has constructive feedback to make it that bit better. So
no, exactly. So sort of as a fashion in a way. This book sells this year, next year something else. Maybe it takes at least a year, maybe two, to write the book.
Yeah.
And then, that trend is gone, but maybe your book is ready for the next trend. So you have to write what you love.
Yeah.
Don't write historicals if you hate reading old dusty books.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, I do.
A lot of time.
Yeah, that's it. I don't mind reading the historical romance. I think it brings a really cool element to it, but it's not. Yeah, I like reading it. It's not my thing. I think for definitely writing it to research all that stuff. But it's fascinating, and I know people who love the research. So
you have to love the research, otherwise it doesn't work. Yeah. I love horror books, but I couldn't write one. I've written for children, but that's a bit different. Stephen King, Dean Koontz, all of these amazing horror writers. Yeah. Horrible. So I accept that and I move on.
Yeah. So you obviously predominantly write romance, but you have done children's and horror. Any other genres as well? Or
I think the first series I wrote could be called fantasy romance, because I put all these weird things in it. Which probably was why it didn't sell well. It was the first book and first series. And I would throw in every time I come to, when I stopped, I couldn't imagine anything else. I would throw in a new character, and my editor said, "Please stop. You can't have 40 characters in one book. You have to choose."
Yeah.
Okay, so I have to go back, and so it's still learning. But I come back to historicals all the time.
Yeah.
So that's what I love to write.
Yeah, must be your calling, and obviously it is with you know your success and everything, which is amazing. So what can we expect from Natalie Normann in the future?
Well, the first book I had published, I wrote with a friend, and we wrote a World War II book, and it was very good, but it won the competition at the time, so we had some cash, and that was nice. And then we took this book back. I always knew there was a story there, but it was the first book, so it wasn't very well written. So now we are working on taking that book and give it proper research and do it properly. And we also have a Second World War book with our agent at the moment. And that was good. I love that. That is really long. It's like 110,000 words or something.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But yeah, that's what I did after I stopped the series. So
yeah,
we finished that.
Yeah. So lots more books and writing in the future.
Yes, historicals. So I'm hoping all these the Norwegians are finally making movies about the occupation. Germany occupied Norway in the war, and there's a few now out on Netflix and things. And we are writing from the war, so I'm hoping that would help.
Yeah, and have you said you've got an agent? So will they? Yeah. Maybe they'll pitch the movie rights. To some stuff.
Yeah, you never know. She's in Edinburgh.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, that's where I'm from.
She's not Scottish.
Yeah.
Married to Scotsman. She's Swedish, actually. So she's in Edinburgh, and she's working really hard. So I have faith in her.
Yeah, fantastic. That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time, Natalie. That was amazing. I absolutely loved picking your brain there and hearing all about it. It just blows me away. But obviously, as we've spoken, you are traditionally published for all your books, and you have an agent and living the author dream of many. Obviously, this is a hybrid author podcast. Because you have such experience and you could do this on your own. Have you ever considered self-publishing? And because you do pretty much what every self-publisher, I suppose, it is a goal, or that's the way self-publishing works for many. Rapid release is where they earn the big bucks.
I think I hope I can stay with a traditional publisher for now, at least, because being an independent writer like that, I have so much admiration for people who manage to do that. I'm horrible at marketing, and to have all these things, you have to get covers and all these things. I can just write the book and give it away, and they take care of the rest.
Yeah.
But I wonder if publishing is heading that way, that more and more of us will self-publish.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah, they have, some of the good names. I mean, there's some obviously not good names, but that's everywhere. Has like a spin-off imprint almost, that they work with authors who want to front up some of the money. It's quite expensive doing it that way, but I do have a friend who's doing it, and some of the books that are coming out, they're stunning. They're good quality, and they're still getting the support like I guess you would traditionally, but they're taking more of the cost. But then they're probably getting more of the money, the royalties, I suppose, from it also.
Money, of course.
Yeah. But no, it's interesting to watch. Well, fantastic. Well, thank you so much again. Can you tell our listeners where they can discover yourself and all of your books on and offline?
Well, it's Amazon, of course, and it's on every online bookstore, Americans, UK, all over the place. As long as there's English books sold, I think it's there. Mostly digital, I think.
Well, and the Norwegian ones, can you only get them from Norway?
Yeah, I think so. We used to have only pocket books. There are no hardcovers for these books. Okay. But we now have ebook, and I also have audiobooks going, but it's in Norwegian. Of course, it's in Norwegian. So you have to learn that first.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing.
It's in every Norwegian bookstore, some digital, it's in ebook and paperbacks, of course, also.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time, Natalie. That was amazing.
Thank you.
So there you have it, folks, the absolutely all-inspiring Natalie Normann. And I hope that interview has provided you with some encouragement to write what you love, have fun doing it, and enjoy the process. And remember to keep the faith that it all comes together in the end, just like Natalie. Next time on the Hybrid Author Podcast, keeping in with the romance for the upcoming Valentine's Day, we have Western Australian women's fiction and rural romance queen, Rachel Johns. And I chat to Rachel on the Romance Writers of Australia. I wish you well in your author adventure this next week. That's it from me. Bye for now.
That's the end for now, authors. I hope you're further forward in your author adventure after listening, and I hope you'll listen next time. Remember to head on over to the Hybrid Author website at www.hybridauthor.com.au to get your free author pass. It's bye for now.